Welcome back to The Mentors. This is Vadim
and Sergey,
and you're listening to another segment of the 5-Minute Pick-Me-Up, our weekly episode where we tell you stories that hopefully will motivate you for the week to come. And today's episode is called How to Convince People That You're Not Crazy.
You're crazy, buddy.
We're all crazy.
You're crazy.
I think crazy, let's put a positive spin on that word, because to me crazy means
crazy beautiful.
Yeah, and also a little bit different and new and interesting, and come on, who wants to be boring? So sometimes you have to make others believe that you're not totally wacko, so that they can support you, so that they can basically be there for you instead of being negative towards you. And a lot of times this happens in families as well. Actually, this week, Sergey and I were guests on a podcast that's going to be out in July, I believe, a show called Redefining Wealth with Patrice Washington, which is an awesome podcast. You guys should check it out. We met her at the Podcast Movement Conference last year, and we ended up getting on her show, and one of the questions that she asked was, how do you convince your family members to support you when you're doing something entrepreneurial, when you're doing something that to them seems foreign and crazy?
And this is something that is for anyone that has ever tried to take a non-traditional path, whether it's entrepreneurship or not. It could be, to be a musician or an actor or anything else that's non-traditional. We know full well that sometimes it's difficult to get our family on our side, who oftentimes crave stability for us. So a lot of people face this. And the answer that we gave to Patrice is that, well, number one, for some of your family members, you're never going to change their minds about the risk that you're taking. So what you have to do is try to de-risk it a little bit for them. Show them why you're more likely to be successful than maybe they think. And it reminds me of an entrepreneur that I work with at NYU who was a pre-med major, basically. Is that a major? I don't know. But his mom has always been worried about him because they immigrated to this country, and she wants him to have a stable job. But he doesn't really want to be a doctor. He wants to be an entrepreneur, and he's already had some entrepreneurial success. And so the way that he de-risked it for his mom is, number one, he's finishing his degree, so he can always go to med school if he wants to. But the most important thing is he's showing her how he's getting other people to support his entrepreneurial endeavors. He's showing her how he can get revenue. He's showing her how he can get people on board. His cousin just quit his job to join him full-time. He just got into a summer accelerator program at NYU. And so he's just removing the layers of risk for his mom to basically make her a little bit more happy and supportive of what he's doing.
So hopefully, if you have people that are close to you that maybe doubt you or think that you're crazy for doing what you're doing, hopefully it's coming from a place of love because they care about you. And some people are just naturally a little bit more risk averse and they don't want to see you fail. But the best way to get them on your side, to get them to understand where you're coming from, is to actually act towards what you're trying to do and show them through some of the wins that you experience along the way.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. And obviously, if they see that you're happy with what you're doing, if they see that it makes you whole, then hopefully they're going to be more and more supportive. And ultimately, having that support network is incredibly important when you're working on something that's entrepreneurial, because you're going to have a lot of downtimes. You're going to have to commit a lot of your own personal time and make some sacrifices to make it a reality. And so if you don't have a support network, there's going to be a higher likelihood that you might want to give up.
And let's face it, we can't always rely on our family and loved ones to be supportive of everything that we're trying to do. And what Vadim and I oftentimes talk about is you then have to supplement that by surrounding yourself with other people that will be supportive of the things that you want to do. And a perfect example of this played out actually this week. We have a very good friend who we see probably about every week or so.
And he's also very entrepreneurial, so keep that in mind. I mean, we're like-minded in that, so it's helpful. He really is empathetic to what we're doing.
That's true. And we know with full confidence that anytime we mention something to him that we're doing or thinking about, he's going to be supportive of it. And every time we have a win, he's one of the first people we call, or actually not a win, the opposite of a win too. Sometimes when things go bad, he's one of the first people we call because we know that he's going to always be encouraging and supportive, unlike anyone else. And this week we were just randomly grabbing drinks with him, and we mentioned something that has been on our mind a little bit, just to basically bounce it off of him.
It was a way that we were thinking about monetizing this show, The Mentors, this podcast. With podcasting, there's many different ways to generate revenue. Advertising, obviously, is the one that comes to mind for most people. But there's other things you can do: upsell opportunities, trainings, workshops, speaking engagements, press. There's a lot. And so we have a new idea that we've been bouncing around, and this particular idea would involve direct sales efforts. Now, Sergey and I have not executed on it because we have other priorities, and because, quite frankly, we would need to delegate some of this work, and so we'd have to bring somebody on board. But we do have a friend that's actually really good at sales, and so we've been thinking about working with him, but simply put, we just haven't put the effort into executing on it. And when we mentioned this idea to the friend, he said, "You guys should just definitely do it." He was super supportive, and that alone injected the motivation into both of us to actually execute on it right away. So while we were sitting there at the bar drinking a bottle of wine with our buddy in the middle of the week, split 3 ways. Don't worry, we didn't get too wasted. I actually texted my other buddy, who is the sales expert, and I said, "Hey, are you still interested in helping out on some new projects with us?" He responded within 10 minutes. We had a meeting the next day, and we're actually starting to work together already on this new initiative tomorrow.
Perfect example where a good friend of ours who's very encouraging, he knew, by the way, that Vadim and I have been trying to delegate more this year and take things off of our plates so we can move certain projects forward. And when he said to us without hesitation, "You guys should do this, do it right now while we're drinking this glass of wine," and we did, that's when things were put into motion. So it just reiterates for us the importance of surrounding yourself with like-minded people that are going to be there to encourage you if you can't find that in your own circles today.
Exactly, and that external force or aid is really necessary a lot of the times. We're social creatures. We feed off of other people. Even those of us that are more introverted at times need some external communication with other human beings, because it does really help move us forward. And in this case, that meant connecting with our friend and getting him to motivate us to execute on this particular new idea that we have, and also connecting with our other friend so that we can partner with him, because you can't do everything yourself. Sometimes you need to rely on other people that are better at certain skills, or that can actually take ownership of a certain activity, so that as a whole you can make a bigger impact.
That's it for the 5-minute Pick Me Up for this week, and we'll see you on Wednesday with part 2 of our amazing story with Wayne Mackey, the founder of StateSpace.